Welcome to Crump Chiropractic. My name is Dr. Stephen Crump. I'm a doctor of chiropractic here in Gibraltar for the last 16 years. This talk's about half an hour and it's explained to you how important your spine is to your health, how by having a spine working properly you can actually help improve your health. And I'm trying to make that sort of logical today. In terms of the spine, we should have a backward curve, a forward curve and a backward curve. The curves act like springs and keep us strong. And what can happen is we can lose curves through sort of bad posture, from sitting in offices in front of desks too much. People can have bumps or knocks that can cause a neck to straighten, and they may not realise it's happened. So for example, I'll sit here asking people all day, have you ever had any accidents? And people say, oh no, no, no. What they mean is they haven't been run over by a car 3 times or something. But you could be, for example, sat in your car and the lights are red and you're minding your own business and you're looking out the window like this, and somebody's not watching, or these days probably texting on their phone, and they bump you from behind. And it could be only 15 miles per hour. But what happens then is, when you're bumped and not expecting it, the head will actually move forwards and then backwards. And that could cause your neck to straighten, but because the impact's very small, you may have no symptoms at the time. So you come round and shout about having your back bumper resprayed, because it's all scratched now, you're not very happy. And then suddenly 6 months later, you suddenly get a stiff neck, pain down the arm, headaches, and you never relate it back to the injury. Right? Whereas if you had a big injury, you roll the car 3 times, you're probably going to get neck and arm pain or neck almost immediately, and it's obvious where the problems come from. The bones and the spine, these are the discs, where the discs are between the bones. And if we look at what I'm thinking about inside here is, the brain stem's up in here, it's continuous with your spinal cord coming down. So that's housed in behind the spine, and it's designed to have this natural backward curve. It's designed to be shaped like a backward banana, as it were. And it's got the consistency of camembert cheese, which means if your neck straightens, you can put pressure on the spinal cord and you can deform it. So like this one here. So this is somebody whose neck straightened up. So it's actually more common than you realise. So when it straightens now, the spinal cord gets stretched, and the discs lose their natural shape, and they can push onto the spinal cord. Did you think you'd feel, if you push the spinal cord or brain, can you feel your spinal cord or brain right now? You can't feel it, can you? It's designed for function, not for feeling. So you probably can't feel that, but wherever that area of the spine affects, you'll feel wherever it goes to. And if nothing's done here, this neck can wear out quicker because A, it loses this spring curve, which it should have, and secondly, when it gets bumped or injured, see, when it's working properly, this is 2 bones and a disc, the joint should be moving up and down nice and easily. And when they move up and down properly, the discs lubricate. That means fluid comes in and out and keeps them strong and healthy. If they jam and lock up, or don't move like they should do, you don't get this lubricating effect in the disc. Then what can happen is, it will literally shrivel and dry up faster in areas where it's not moving properly, so it will wear quicker. Right? So if we look at this as a sliding scale, when we're young, we should all have nice big thick disc spaces like this. We all go through an ageing process, so there always is some wear and tear arthritis. It's sort of unavoidable. We should never get down to this level here, which is completely worn. But we can have some areas that wear at different rates. When there's an injury, it'll tend to wear faster, especially if it's not dealt with properly. Right? And by actually restoring a neck and making it move and work properly, restoring the shape, you can even bring them 10 or 15% back in the right direction, which is a whole different ballgame than leaving them to go down to this end down here. So if this person did nothing and we just ignored it, what tends to happen is we get a lot more arthritis. This is wear and tear now forming in the lower neck. And you'll see these discs are much thinner in here. And what symptoms do you think you might have if you've got discs like that in your neck?
Pain.
Yep, neck pain?
Stiffness.
Stiffness, yeah, good. Do you know where those nerves go to in the lower neck?
Part of the arm.
Exactly, arms. You can get arm pain. They do more than that though. They actually affect the power. So you can have a heavy, weak arm. You can have pins and needles down it. You can have restriction and range of motion. You can't move your neck properly. And if that was somebody's lower back, what do you think would happen in the lower back?
Back pain.
Back pain. So hopefully we've all heard that chiropractic can help people with bad necks and bad backs. Of our nervous system, we only sense, only about 8 or 9% of the nerves actually sense pain. So pain actually comes at the very end of a problem. And why do you think we have the pain? Why does the body give us pain?
Get it corrected.
It's like a warning system, isn't it? It's like an alarm system in the body. So, as an example of this is somebody, it's a chest X-ray of somebody. These are the arteries around somebody's heart, coronary arteries. These arteries got a blockage in them in here. Yeah. Do you know what could cause blocked arteries?
Cholesterol.
Cholesterol, yeah. Bad diet, couldn't it? Yeah. Eating fatty foods, drinking, smoking, not exercising, all that can cause your arteries to get clogged up. You can have 95% of your arteries blocked and have no signs or symptoms. 95% blocked. So you could see Uncle Joe on Friday and say, "Oh, hi Uncle Joe, how you doing?" He goes, "Oh yeah, no problem, I'm all good." Then Monday he just drops dead. Right, so was he fit as a fiddle on Friday when he spoke to you? But he had no symptoms, did he? Does that make sense? So unfortunately for him, his first one was his last one, right? 40% of men pass away on their first attack. The rest of the men, 60% of them get a chance to go and do something about it. They have a heart attack, have a warning, then go and hopefully change their lifestyle. Same with the cancer. If you suddenly find a lump somewhere and you go and have it diagnosed as a cancer, has it just suddenly turned up now?
It's probably grown for a while.
Yeah, probably up to 5 to 10 years, silently building up until eventually there's enough of a lump that you can feel it. So how we feel is a very poor measure of our health and how it's working. And the reason again is because we only feel so little of the system. So 20% of the nerves coming out control your muscle power, and 70% control the organ. So of the spine here, we've got the brain up here, continues to the spinal cord, and then these nerve roots coming out. They're literally passing messages, mental impulses from the brain down the nerve, and here they're going down your arms, and here down your legs, and here they go up to the head. Then it goes heart, lung, gallbladder, stomach, pancreas, large intestine, uterus. And if we get an area that's becoming chronically blocked, and you're pinched and trapped like this, it is interfering with the messages passing properly. So we liken it, let's model here. So the messages should be passing about 90, they should be passing about 270 miles an hour. A bit like electricity passing down there. And they start to get blocked, you can reduce the amount of information by up to 60%. It still works, but it doesn't work like it should do. And perhaps the a tragic example, but a clear example of this would be Christopher Reeve, who's Superman. We all know he was a fit, healthy guy, then he had an accident on the horse. He was going along and hit a branch, and he literally forced his C1 bone here onto his brainstem. So your brain sits up here protected inside the head. It goes through a big hole, and your brainstem sits in here, and that controls most of the vital functions in your body. Heart rate, breathing, respiration, nerves cross over from the arms and legs. And they put a crushing pressure on his brainstem in there. And then what happened to him after that? He's in a wheelchair, wasn't he? He couldn't use his arms or legs, he's quadriplegic. After 7 days in the wheelchair, he's going to fit a pacemaker for his heart. So why do you think they have to fit a pacemaker? Would he suddenly get heart disease in 7 days? No. Why would you have to have that?
His brain was sending messages.
Yes, your brain speeds up and slows down your heart, and if the message is getting blocked, it can't get the messages through to the organs. Does that make sense? He had to have a hole put through the front of his neck, and he had to be connected to an iron lung. He had to have dialysis for his kidneys. He had 7 machines doing what his body should do for itself because the brain couldn't control and regulate the organs. So the way our body stays healthy is it's the brain at the top that sends messages down the body. So here's somebody's brain. T5 goes to your stomach in here. What does the stomach do for a living? What's the job of the stomach?
Process food.
Exactly. How does it do that?
Acids.
Produce acid and enzymes, doesn't it? So let's put acid in there. So what happens is, just as you're about to eat your food, your brain sends a message down to your stomach and it says start producing acid now, because the food's coming down, you need to break the food down, and then your body absorbs it through the stomach lining and uses it for growth and repair. Right? And then when the food's passed through, the message goes back to the brain, tells it that it's gone through and it's switched the acid production off. But let's say now you have a blockage in here. So this chap, for example, sat in front of a computer 8-9 hours a day, and his back starts to stiffen and lock up here. Or he's playing football and somebody sticks his knee straight into his back, and for 2 or 3 days he's got a really sore back. Then it's not so sore, but it just stays stiff and locked up and you sort of forget about it. So let's say you reduce the inflammation down by about 20%. Would that be healthy to have a stomach working at less than 20%? Wouldn't be, would it? So I'm likening it to a light bulb. Right? So this is like, that'd be 100% inflammation passing up and down, 20%. Let's say it blocks a bit more and it's 30%. That'd be even less healthy, wouldn't it? But you often wouldn't have any symptoms, wouldn't be enough problems to actually start realising it. It's often not that it starts blocking at 40%, and say that went on for 6 months, a year, 18 months. Right, so now you've got 40% of the cells in your stomach, so the brain's literally connected to little cells. The cells in your stomach, in here which produce the acid and enzymes, they reproduce themselves, they replicate themselves every 4 or 5 days. So you get a new stomach lining completely every 4 or 5 days. 2 days if you have spicy food. They're the ones that produce this acid. The acid in your stomach is level 1. That means if it touched metal, it would burn straight through metal. But it doesn't harm us at all, does it? If this system keeps working properly. So let's now say this is getting blocked at more than 40% and it gets blocked for for months and months. Start producing more acid than we should do, so what symptoms do we have then?
Heartburn.
What do we do? Horrible heartburn.
Running.
That's one of the okay, running. They were the first tablets, right? Do you remember they were made? Running in 1952. I'll speed up. 1952, right? So a drug company had made runny. And do you know what runny are? Just chalk. Chalk tablets, right? So they just neutralise excess acid. And they can't sell them because there's no condition. So they have to name the condition. They call it acid reflux disease, and they can sell runnies. Now you've got a Pramazole, Losec, all these new ones, haven't you? Is that solving your problem? No. Not if that's the problem, is it? Right? There may be other reasons, but not if that's the reason there. So it's temporarily reducing the acid, and you haven't got to suffer your heartburn anymore, have you? Until the next time you go and eat again, and the same process happens again. So my job is if we can find blockage like this, is to remove the blockages, so that the brain can start to get the messages passing up and down, and it can run the body properly. And L1, for example, goes to your large intestines. So if you got blocked, say, 40% or more there, and you couldn't regulate your large intestine, you go to the doctor saying, my bowel's irritable, then they say, well, you've got irritable bowel. But it doesn't really answer the question why, does it? So if this is blocked on here, they give you something to go and get rid of the symptom. Again, that's blocking and dealing with the problem. C1, the headaches, migraine. C2 goes to eye, ear, sinus. So this is how the body runs and controls our system. Right. So this is what happens. The messages should be passing up and down with the nerves working properly. If we get bones misaligned, they can put pressure on a nerve. So it's been measured at the University of Colorado that the weight of a dime, which is a very small amount of weight, like a 5p piece, resting on a nerve, cuts its transmission down by 60%. Right now it starts to get common to start getting symptoms. If you have them long enough, people start thinking they're normal. Being tired all the time, having headaches all the time, having a left leg that doesn't work every other day. Right? So, it's just normal. Right? So if we get the pressure off the nerve and get the messages back, and then the brain can get the messages through to the body. So how do you know if it's working properly? That's why we take the scan. Because by the time the symptoms come, they come right at the very end of the problem, not the beginning. So we can take a scan initially, even when maybe it's starting to happen silently, we can look for areas of pressure where it's blocked. So this little girl here came to us. She's Anisha. She was 5 years old, and she came for bedwetting and bad allergies.
Hello. We brought Anisha to the chiropractor because she was constantly wetting the bed. She was very upset all the time and had a lot of allergies to wheat, and so she was always blocked and had a lot of mucus. So we came to the chiropractor, she loved it, enjoyed it, was feeling a lot better straight away. Stopped wetting the bed, she's 6 now, has never wet the bed again, and she's a lot better with her allergies.
So if we checked her spine, we found that her L3 was jammed and blocked. We also found that her C2 was blocked up in here, which affects sinuses. So why would a 5-year-old end up with a blocked up spine?
It's a fallen over.
Yeah, bumps and falls. Thousands of bumps and falls, kids, don't they? And sometimes they go and tell the parents, they just pat them on the head and say, you're okay. If you do that enough times, you won't bother mentioning it anymore, do you? And there's one other process that we go through that can cause a lot of pressure, particularly on the neck. Do you think what that is? How would you cause a lot of pressure on a baby's neck? Being born, yeah, exactly. So we give birth this way, don't we? Generally in society. Do you know why we give birth this way? Any idea what's that way? In the animal kingdom, they do it this way. So they use gravity to help with the birth. We do it that way because of King Henry VIII, because he wanted to see them. He wanted nobody to switch babies with him because he wanted a boy, didn't he? If you didn't bring him a boy, you got your head chopped off. So you want to make sure nobody is switching babies. And after that, it becomes fashionable for ladies to give birth on the back. Problem then, you've got more pressure. And in difficult deliveries, they use forceps and ventouse, and they can be literally putting up tremendous pressure on the baby's neck. Right, I'm going to tell you some horrible stories about it, we won't do, but the girl at the beginning who you saw being treated, she was 3 years old, and she had recurrent ear infections on both ears, and that's the #1 reason that parents go to the doctor, is if their kid's got ear infection, because if the kid's got ear infection, nobody in the family sleeps. They scream all night with a tremendous pressure in the ear. And the dad was coming from, he was a football player and he'd come for a back injury. And he saw something about ear infections and said, my daughter's on like a 7th set of antibiotics. They're about to go and drill both their ears at St Bernard's Hospital because they've got this constant pressure in the ear. She keeps getting these infections all the time. And I explained that up in the neck here at C2, these nerves go, the nerve C2 controls the muscle that holds your eustachian tube open. So if you go down to C5, 6 in your lower neck, C5 controls your bicep. So we can all think about doing that, can't we? Bending a bicep muscle. Still my brain sending me a message I'm down. Right, so that's controlling that. Up here, it actually controls this tube that holds your eustachian tube from your middle ear to your back of your throat, and it keeps it open like that, patent. And if this becomes jammed and blocked in here, and wedged, it loses power and the tube shuts down, and then if you do get an infection forming in the middle ear, it's got nowhere to go, and it starts creating massive pressure inside the middle ear. And in the hospital, they're going to drill in the eardrum to allow the pressure to come out. The problem with doing that is you're now giving a very easy access route for bugs and bacteria to get back in the body. So she came, so mum came in and we said if we could treat her, we used a clipping device like this, twice a week for 6 weeks, and see if we can get this area freed up and see if it helps with her ear infection. She came 3 times. Mum came in and said, oh, you know, it's not working, there's been no change, let's just give up. She didn't have the operation anyway in 5 weeks' time. And I said, no, you said you're going to give me 6 weeks, and we're on week number 2, 3rd visit. You know, we've still got these other visits to go. And eventually we got in there and she stuck with it and we freed it up. And by the 5th week, her ear infection's cleared up. She still comes on a once-a-month basis. Like, there's still some issues here. It's a matter of maintaining it, not just leaving it and then letting her go back to 0 again. Right, so we're going to go on now on how we change his spine. Right, so this is somebody's spine from the side view. So we explained we should have a nice backward curve like this. And this is a lady that came to us in 2010. And she had a car accident about 10 years previously. She'd been suffering for a few years, went to St Bernard's, they got an x-ray taken. And the top of her neck bends the right way, and then halfway down it bends completely the wrong way. You see that one there? So nothing was done, just given tablets, told to live with it. And you see what's happened over the next 7 years with no help. So her top discs, where it's bent the right way, they're all good discs, aren't they? But where her neck's bent the wrong, it's completely the opposite way to what it should be. What's happened to those discs there? Yeah, they've all worn down much quicker, haven't they? Same neck, but suddenly it's worn much faster in the lower neck. So if you should have a neck that's curving this way, and you bend it completely the wrong way, it isn't going to work properly. Say you've got an axle on the car, it's to have a certain shape, and you lose natural shape, it's not going to be a happy axle on that car, is it? So if we can take a neck like this and we can bend it back the right way, and the same for the lumbar spine, get it to go back into its normal curve, then it's going to act like a spring and it's going to last a lifetime. Right, and that's what we do using these wedges like this. But now we're going to show you how to get a neck back into a normal curve. So by that we mean, this is somebody with a straight neck, and this is how we get the curve back into a normal curve like that. How long do you think it would take to get a neck back into a normal curve?
6 months.
Yeah, that's a good guess. I get people coming in here with horrible neck and arm pain, and it's awful, it's ruining their life, and they've had it for years, and then when they want it fixed by?
Tomorrow.
Yesterday, don't they? If you had a child and their teeth are bent the wrong way, we give them braces, don't we? How long does a brace take to work? Yeah. And even when they finish with the brace, what do they do after when they take the brace away?
Retains.
Yeah, I'm saying this because the osseous structure of the jaw still wants to push it the wrong way. We can actually change the neck. Generally speaking, in 3 to 4 months we can get a neck to go back the right way. It's done as a gradual process where literally we just lie with this wedge underneath the neck for up to 10 minutes. We start at 1 minute a week, and then we go to 2 minutes, 3 minutes, until we get to 10 minutes, and then we do 10 minutes for about 4 months. So it's every day, it's taking the effort to go and do it, and this will actually push the neck back into a normal shape again. You actually have to stretch the ligaments, you've got to open the disc spaces up. And it has to be done slowly and gradually. So people will often come to us here, they'll come, horrible pain makes people come in the front door, get rid of this horrible pain. And generally over the first 12 visits we can get people where the pain starts to go away and they're feeling better, so the symptoms are starting to go away. And then there's a choice. Some people could decide to leave it there. It tends to go back down this way. Some people could just do something to maintain it, like treading water. But if you want to make the spine strong and stable, that's rehabilitation. And that's where we do practice. I might go twice a week, down to once a week for 12. And that over 3 to 4 months is how we change the shape of the spine. Then you're making a spinal correction rather than just making it move and feel a bit better. Make sense? When we treat you, we'll go forwards in the treatment. Then it tends to slip back to the old position. We go forwards. So treatments are built by building one treatment on another. So you're repeating the pattern until the next neck or spine starts to learn the normal position. And it's from this stage onwards that we start to use the neck roll. And it has to be done gradually because often the neck's been the wrong way for a long time. And discs and ligaments are very strong plastic structures. They will change, but got to change slowly. So this is Sharon. She's a matron from the hospital. So she came in very severe headaches, spacey dizziness. She had really bad pain down the neck and arm. She's fallen off a horse a number of times. So she's gone through and used the roll and got a curve back. Then we've got Neil, and Neil said he's quantity surveyor and he's gone through the same process.
Starting just 2 to 3 minutes a day, working up to 10 minutes a day. But I'm saying during that time my neck has improved, and now it has actually gone almost back to where it should be. And I'm getting a lot less headaches and things like that.
Okay, so I had extremely bad sciatica on my left side, left buttock, and that's over the years. That's gone off, and that has been a huge improvement. And I think doing the neck roll definitely improved my neck. It relieved some of the numbness I was getting, pins and needles I was getting in my left shoulder. That's gone. And,
Roll. What's happened to disc spaces there? What's happened to them?
Going back the other way.
Opened up, haven't they? So that's the beginning. That's arthritis. If you went to the doctor and they diagnosed you've got arthritis, what are they going to say to you? It's going to get better, it'll be fantastic, off you go. Take these tablets, bad luck, bye-bye. That's reversed arthritis, isn't it? It's different, isn't it? It doesn't mean different quality of life for her over the next 30, 40 years because she took the time and effort and expense and did the role and went through the process. Hasn't happened by magic, hasn't happened by coming twice and thinking it's all going to be great. It's taken the effort to go and do it. And this is a 70-year-old lady, so her neck's completely forwards off the spine. It's still forwards, but at least she's halfway back over the spine. It's not perfect, but at least this is like leaning Tower of Pisa. Now she's only leaning over half as much. So it's going to be happy with it. And then this was the girl who came in, she's got scoliosis, which is a twist in the spine, which is hereditary, normally father to daughter, and it runs through generations. If these curves, under the age of 20, they can keep on progressing, and sometimes they can become very severe, where they have to put spinal rods in and fuse the whole spine. So in some cases there's no other option, but if it's not too severe, you go in there through it and give her exercises and reduce that spine down, which is a whole different ballgame than having a fusion of spinal rod from the base of your back all the way down to your tailbone. Okay, so we commonly see people getting bent and hobbled over. That's common, but that's not normal. That shouldn't be happening. Just the fact that we see it a lot in our society now. So this is our philosophy then, right? The brain sends mental impulses up and down through these nerves throughout your body, subconscious to you. It's happening all day long whether you're awake or asleep. If you get areas where the spine starts to misalign and blocks up and traps a nerve, you may or may not feel it initially, because you only feel about 7 or 8% of the nerve anyway. That's why we get the scans done.